Hello, well it's me again, still on Bamburgh Castle. This will be the last video I'll do until it's completed. It's not an instructional video. I'm not trying to tell you how to paint or give you advice on painting. It's just really a video to see how I paint, put things together. I particularly like doing the pen and watercolour architecture landscapes. And it's just how I work, and you've had a fairly good idea over the last 3 videos of what I do and how I do it. So really I'm just going to show you a little bit more. We'll then call it a day, and the next video will be when I come on to do the landscape bit here and the final picture. So that's the plan. Since the last video, been a fairly major alteration. I had to do quite a bit of repair work here because it might be clearer on this lighter picture. Where I'd drawn this, I'd actually sloped that down far too much there, and it finished too far. So this buttress was probably there, much too big a buttress. So I've had to actually come back to this and completely obliterate this area here and redraw it. So this buttress got narrowed right down. Again, I'm really surprised how dark this is showing up on the viewfinder and on the pictures. So it is a lot lighter. The colour match is almost the same to that. It just doesn't look like on the camera, on the viewfinder of the actual painting. It's really bizarre. Anyway, I've got some of the Payne's grey here. I've mixed it with some of the brown, which we're using for the colour of the brickwork, and this is going to be that area there. Again, it's going to show, I suspect, really quite dark on here, but we've already had a lay down of the light colour. So this is the first layer. Talk about layers again if you remember. When that's dry, I shall add another layer to it. And the advantage there also is that where you have little changes, a few changes in the colour and the tone, you can do those as you go because you just don't add so many layers onto those bits. That line probably I will cheat and probably the same with this bottom one here, and I shall use a bit of gouache mixed with brown to create that colour. Then we have just a few little bits of darker paint on there like that, and then that colour will also come down. It's getting a bit dry. Might have to add a bit more water into that. That also will come down here, and in there, that's shadow in there. There will be when it's done. All looks very sort of scrappy, doesn't it, at the moment? But that's the way it is. Because you're building up in layers, you're building up with more detail with the brushwork. It all starts to make sense the more you go into the picture. So we've now got on this bit, we've got some very well defined brickwork. And I've got sort of really with this colour, I've got the basis of those light coloured bricks. So what I'm going to have to do is try and lay the darker colours down, leaving the gaps of the bricks that are going in. So I will probably do that off camera so I don't make too many mistakes and have you laughing at me. In the meantime, I want to just get this roof line shaded in, and when I've done that, properly, I shall tackle that brickwork, and then I shall come back to you after and say, look what I've done, aren't I clever? And I'll tell you how I did it, but I don't have to embarrass myself by making a mess of it in front of you. You see, I'm not totally stupid, despite what some people think. Right, that's going to do for my first layer. That will have more layers and get darker and darker until we've got a nice bit of light shade and texture on there. I'm now going to just start laying down some of the basics for that, and I'll come back to you shortly. Right, well, I've been working on the brickwork, just putting in representations of how the bricks are, as you can see on the original. I can get that to focus for you. There we go. So that's just the start of it, just to get the vague representations. We'll bring that up more with some highlights and lowlights and so on. I've added more to the roof area here just to darken it down, and what I'm just going to do now is just a little bit more onto the sides here, because the sides facing the right are much darker, and a little bit too much paint on the brush then. I'm going to have to leave that to dry off now. That's just got a little bit too wet, but these bits which are to the right, facing right, are all a lot darker. Just in there. Yeah, I'm going to have to leave that just to dry before I can do any more to that. We've then got this line here that is fairly dark, darker than it is now. I might add a bit of neat Payne's grey to that, just to darken it down. And what I'll be doing is bring in a dark wash across, browny wash across here to represent the rendering, because there is rendering on those. It's not all brickwork, but the rendering's falling off, which is why you've got some brick and some dark areas. And the brickwork is, a lot of it is dirt, centuries and centuries of dirt on there. So that's that. And again, you can see here it's very rough at the minute. It's just laying down the tones really, and the detail will go in later. This slate roof has got to be a little bit paler, as you can see over there, and needs more detail. That dark that I put in there, I've got to lighten it up, break it down more, because you can see here that's how it is. It's broken up at this end, it's paler up there. So there's a bit of work to do here. That end needs to be darkened down. I'm running out of water. Let's put a bit more on the brush there. You get into the stage that you can see the stage now where I at times think, this isn't coming together very well, but in fact it is, and it does, and it'll look fine. As you can see, I mean, the rest of it looks okay, and we always go through this stage where you think, is it right or not? But it is right, it is going well, and we'll come back and have another look in due course. I'll show you how we're getting on. So we've just about finished that now, or I've just about finished that now. We've got the representation of the brickwork in there, the roof has been lightened up there, and we've got the contours now highlighted and shadowed in the appropriate places. windows have had a little bit of colouring on it, but what I'm going to do now is the ink on here to finally sort of bring in the brickwork. I know I keep harping on about the brickwork, but it is what the castle's made from largely. There is some rendering in places, but it is largely brickwork. So this is fairly painstaking work. There are some areas where it is a line that goes right the way across. As you can see in here, you can see that there are actually lines that travel across. So I've sort of tried to keep that effect in. But you need also to give some form to some of these bricks, otherwise it is just lines of paint, and the pen will give some effect of shadow as well as form. So it's a fairly slow process, as you can see. If I can get that to focus. Are you going to focus for me? Yes, just about. So you can see where I've put some of the lines in there, and it just takes time. So I won't bore you with all of this now. It's going to take probably 20 minutes or more to get this done. So I will do that, and I'll show you the finished result of this, and then we will leave the updates until I've come down to the landscape. So the next time we come here and I'll show you what we've done, this will all be completed. Okay, the whole castle will be completed, and then we'll start on this. Okay, deal. Thanks. See you later. Okay, so that's just about that bit all finished now. I'm going to leave it there. Again, I'm sorry the picture comes up so dark. I don't know why that should be. It's just a rubbish camera. When we speak next, as I said before, that bit will be completed, and then we'll do all this bit. So I'll leave you in peace for a couple of days, and see you again soon. Thanks very much for watching.